Hey guys, my name is Paresh Motiwala, and I'm happy to be speaking here with you at the Data Platform Summit. And my topic is going to be how to get and nail your interviews. And especially, we'll talk about a lot of these stupid things that we do during the interviews, before the interviews, after the interviews. Um, I work as a DBA at a global company called Navisite. We provide with database support, either BI or development or administrative support for any of your data initiatives. Uh, Special thanks to Microsoft for supporting this awesome event. They've been supporting Data Platform Geeks and the SQL Server Geeks, all their community initiatives, which is kind of awesome. And there's a whole bunch of other sponsors also, if you can see on the right hand corner here. So this is based out of what I have been through over the past several years. So if you try to Google a lot of what I'm saying, possibly you may not get, especially you will not get it in a very condensed fashion that I'm presenting it to you. This is at least the 25th time that I'm giving the same exact presentation. So please tighten your seatbelts and let's rock and roll. So about me, who am I? Why am I here? What am I doing? So as I said, my name is Paresh Motiwala and this is my Twitter handle. So any bouquets, brickbats, feel free to bring it on. Would love to improve my presentation also. I'm also on all other social medias that you can possibly conceive in your minds, like Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram. And LinkedIn is something which is very close to my heart as well. So I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. But the prime condition is that you have to tell me where you met me or I will not connect. Because I get on an average about 7 or 8 connection requests per week where people will just reach out to me totally out of blue, and I don't like that, which is also not a great professional thing to do anyways. So tweet about it, connect with me on LinkedIn, feel free to reach out to me or my company for any DBA related work. I'm also on the leadership council for Boston BI, New England SQL Server User Group, past DBA virtual group, and the past professional development virtual group. And actually I also co-own the Boston BI user group. So you must be thinking, does this guy ever sleep? Yes, I do sleep at least 7 to 8 hours a day. I also organize a lot of these SQL Saturdays. Could it be Boston SQL Saturday or Boston BI SQL Saturday, Providence SQL Saturday, which is about 20 miles south of where I live, and the Boston Global Azure Boot Camp, the Code Camps, the Microsoft Data migration or data modernization tool that they did last year when 2008 was thrown out of support. And I own a company with my wife and it's called circlesofgrowth.com. Do check it out. It's currently more like a brochureware kind of website. But through this, we actually make a tremendous impact in the development of our mainly children and other people around the globe. I teach public speaking, debating, leadership skills, and for the grown-ups, I work with them for their interviewing skills. I work with them for getting up and speaking, basically. But if you are a database professional, I will not charge. So I do not charge people who want to get up and speak. So if you want to come and speak at any of our user groups, especially with the Boston BI user group, we are currently looking for speakers for April 2021. I would love to work with you on writing the abstract and how to do the presentation if you have not already done that. If you are a pro, we'd love to hear back from you about how you can get involved with the Boston BI user group. It is still virtual, and I do not believe we will go in person till at least July of next year. Okay, so how do we go about getting the jobs? Let's start our session into 3 main parts, right? So first is getting the job interviews. Second thing is what do we what do we do during the interviews and what do we do after the interviews. So the first part is, of course, networking. Volunteering is a great way of getting job interviews and jobs per se. Social media, a lot of people, especially the higher up you go in your ladder in the organization, they are social media agnostic. They actually anti-social media. They don't like social media. But I have found that judicious use of social media is a superb way for you to get a job, at least a job interview, if not a job. So always keep your eyes and ears open, which means keep looking. Don't become branded by a company 10 years or 15 years in the same company. Suddenly when you either get laid off or the company gets bought off and you are on the streets again, you have to go through a whole bunch of reinventing yourselves, and you should not be in a situation like that, and we can talk about it in as much details as you like as time goes on. So how do you go about marketing yourself, right? So speak at events, present like what I'm doing right now, do training internally, company wide also, right? If there is a user department, they don't know what the hell DBAs do or data professionals do, because for them, everything that goes bad in their field of business is all data. There's never a network problem, if you know that, right? So talk to them, tell them what's your typical day, tell them what a data platform does, that we are not the people who just simply run scripts, right? But we are the people who should rightfully be their business partners. So giving them like an open house of database activities that go on in your organization. Blog, I'm telling you, I've seen so many people becoming awarded with the Microsoft MVP just because they are great bloggers and great speakers. And having that kind of title in your name or with your name is a huge boost to your career. And I will also come back a little later for greater in-depth coverage of your networking and volunteering activities too. Then, okay, so we got the job interview that we were looking for, right? Now, how do we prepare for the interviews? What do we do? So we'll have a tremendous amount of time during this 1 hour that we will be spending on this particular part of the presentation. Then what do you do during the interviews? Okay, so you got the job interview, you prepared for the interview, now you are in the interview. What do you do? What do you not do? Okay? I had the pleasure of conducting this training session, which was a paid session for a consulting company, and when I was actually conducting this for 10 of their candidates, right? Awesome people, they knew their substance real well, okay? But they could not interview for their lives. And when I started talking, right, some of them, especially the 3 or 4 people who actually started crying because I told them these are the basic mistakes that we make and we shouldn't be doing it, and no matter how much you know, if you can't sell yourself, you can't get bought, basically. So then the interview is done. How do you follow up? How do you maintain the records, right? That is something you want to keep an eye on. Why do you want to keep records for? We actually covered that also towards in that particular section of the topic. How do you follow up, correct? And this is a very strong recommendation. So what? You did not get the job. You cannot have a fatalistic view of that, right? So follow up. Ask them, okay, tell me what is missing in my resume. Ask for another interview with the hiring manager. Tell them, hey, you know what? I really loved your job and I just wanted to know what part of my career or my resume or my interview did not come out very well for you. Right? So let's talk about that also. So follow-up is very crucial. Will they give you another interview just to discuss what went wrong? Possibly no, but at least they know you are very serious. So come next time when you are actually doing an interview for the same company, they know that you are a guy who's willing to learn. So do that. And then of course, like all other presentations, we'll have an awesome conclusion. We'll go through everything that we just spoke. Not necessarily in this order, but we should definitely have a wonderful time doing that. So And if time permits, we have some Q&A. We should be able to do Q&A. So let's go. So networking and volunteering, and I must tell you, a lot of people feel this is really stupid. Okay, do not. Networking is phony. Actually, I have a 75 minutes presentation only on networking 101. You really want to look it up. I think it's there somewhere on slideshare.net also. What I'm also going to do is, now that I know how to use this Camtasia software, I'm actually going to convert that and put it in there into SlideShare also. So networking is not something that you start the moment you lose your job. That gives your networking initiative a very selfish undertone. It will not let you succeed. So don't do it. Networking has to be a way of life. If you're sitting next to somebody in a train, strike up a conversation. If you feel they're interesting, go ahead, exchange your business cards. And I might sneeze, so. Volunteering, right? And that's one of the things you want to do. Sorry. What's volunteering got to do with job search? So I'll give you a classic example. Volunteering is also actually helping you network with your peers. How is that possible, Paresh? What are you talking about? So let me give you an example. Say your child has a baseball or a softball game and you are volunteering at there basically to either go out and pick up balls from the deep field there, or even keep a score, or help them run the cafeteria that is right next to it, or a snack shack, or whatever they call it. Now what is happening is that while you are volunteering for doing this, there is a huge chance that CIO of another organization is actually co-volunteering with you, and you generally don't know about this till you strike up that conversation. So by volunteering yourself, right? For example, past 4 of my 5 jobs have all come from internal sources because I volunteered. People have heard about me at the SQL conferences, at SQL Saturdays, and my user groups, and so on. So just because you're volunteering doesn't mean the job is yours, but you have that opportunity for going to an interview because the person actually recommends you. He knows your style of working. He knows you are a better human being. And when you are volunteering and chatting at the snack shack, you can actually interchange a lot of information on your working style and so on. What are the chances that you can actually be standing next to the CIO of Reebok, for example, right? I know the director, international director of Reebok was my neighbor here, and I did not know till I met her at my son's baseball game. This is like 10 years ago. Okay, and her son and my son happened to be good friends too. And I struck up a conversation with her, and she, till date, she's on my LinkedIn. We are in regular virtual touch. But the point is, if there is something coming up in Reebok or Adidas, I know that I have somebody who can actually put a reference for me. So networking in person, and you can do something for them virtually too. So feel free to do that, right? How do you help them virtually? For example, I was volunteering for the school PTO. So whenever we had in-person meetings, that time there's not too many virtual meetings. So in-person meetings, I would be sitting next to the principal of the school. I would be sitting next to another vice president of another company, and who are all volunteering for a common goal. We were able to do a lot of networking. But how else did I help them virtually too? So I had taken upon myself to help them write the newsletter for the school. So the PTO would actually come up with multiple newsletters and so on. So yes, I could do that. So that's a very good way of actually helping them. So you can't go there, then at least be there virtually to help them. Now, in volunteering, right, also you can do something that you have not heard of before. Go volunteer for your church. Volunteer for your local food bank. I'm telling you, A, it is extremely rewarding, but B, it's these people where you will get the next job from. If you look at, for example, I'm focusing on what I see in America, right? If you are in America, you will hardly ever see a person of foreign origin unemployed for a very long time. Why? Because they have this network of individuals, high paid professionals, people who are serial entrepreneurs, who are all meeting them in some or the other event all the time. And I would love for you to go ahead and do that. Go ahead, volunteer the heck out of your life. I'm telling you, A, it is rewarding. B, professionally, you don't know where your next job is coming from. It could very well be from somebody whom you are helping in your church or your community. And remember, community that flocks together works together too. So, participating in professional groups like what I do, for example, right? I am a member of not just this SQL Server user groups, but BI user groups and professional development user groups. Plus, I also help our Hindi language group here in the Boston area, which is now thankfully global, and I helped them organize the Hindi conference that we just had last month, which was an international virtual conference. Um, it has really helped me in two ways, right? Yes, my name is out there, but two, you get to know how high paid professionals are managing their time. Guess who was the head of our technology division, right? He was the CIO of a very famous company. I could see him at work. This guy cannot speak to you for 5 minutes during business hours. And to be able to spend hours together with this character is huge for you. So remember, volunteer your way. Speaking, presenting, training, mentoring, classic ways of doing it. Mentoring, for example, I'm mentoring multiple children right now. And guess what? Their fathers are really doing awesome in their lives, right? These are serial entrepreneurs, but the children won't listen to them. So he hired me, or they hired me, and I'm able to actually impress the parents of those children as to how I'm useful to the community and similarly how I can be useful to his organization. Church, as I already told you, sports team, right? That you could be sitting next to the CIO of some company that possibly is your dream company. So definitely, I would strongly urge you to even, if you like, I can go ahead and reach out to me, tweet to me. I will point out to you where my networking 101 thing is actually. It might really move you to tears. Let's go ahead. How do I look for jobs, right? So we have so many of them, correct? Like we have Monsters, we have careerbuilder.com, indeed.com, we have job boards like those, right? And then LinkedIn, Facebook, even Twitter. I'm not kidding you. The current job, when I was laid off in May, on 1st May, I was laid off by my employer, all the COVID related stuff. I tweeted within the first hour, hey guys, I just got laid off and I'm looking for a job. I also posted that on Facebook and on LinkedIn, and within 2 weeks I had a job. I'm not kidding you at all, because people know what I do for the community, and these are the, so if you're still very shy of social media, don't be. LinkedIn has some amazing features like easy apply is one of them. What you could do is you could literally be, and I'm not encouraging you to do this, so please take it with a little bit of salt and pepper if you like, but you can actually have, let me see if I can show you LinkedIn here. Here LinkedIn, you can see the jobs. If you get an email pertaining to a specific job, you can actually, if there is a LinkedIn say that says easy apply, you just click on easy apply. LinkedIn remembers the last time you used your resume. It will actually help you attach that resume. You could be doing this job application while you are in a meeting which is perennially boring, or you could be in an elevator, or you could even be on the big throne for all you know, right? And you could still be applying away just with a click of few buttons. The other advantage I found is that Indeed, for example, I really struggled very much with Indeed. About for 1 to 2 months, I used to get job offers from Amazon warehouse because I have worked in a data warehouse, believe it or not. But Indeed algorithm somehow picked up what I am really doing and what I am really looking for, what type of interview or job opportunities I'm not even clicking, and it has actually got that algorithm working, whereby it started sending out much more meaningful job spec or job search results to me. So a lot of places, Indeed also has very easy ways to apply. The only time when it really sucks is when you have to actually go to a third party site like ADP, or I don't even remember the rest of the names, but you have to go there, create a profile, create those 10,000 logins, which kind of suck in a way. Whereas LinkedIn, if it doesn't have easy apply, it also has another feature called save this job, right? So what you can do is that before you forget, I go ahead and click on the save the job button, and then whenever you have time over the weekend or towards the evening or after you get home, you can actually do that later on too. So there are a lot of opportunities. One of the biggest issues and wrong things, and as I said, remember the stupid things that we do, is to start reaching out to people when you are laid off, fired, or your company just shut down. Don't do that. I'm telling you again. Don't go crying, hey, can you look for a job for me? No, Jesus, I'm not going to do this for you. The best thing you can do is look for your dream job on the social media. If you're on LinkedIn, say, oh yeah, I like this job, and wait, the hiring manager here or the interviewer he has contacts with Paresh because we are in second degree. Let me reach out to him. Hey Paresh, I have a job offer or I see some appropriate job in Coca-Cola, for example. I'm just putting out some names there. Reach out to me and see if I can actually go ahead and refer you there. Do not apply and then tell your reference. First, check with your reference if you can do that. Most importantly, don't wait more than 2 days. If you wait for more than 2 days, there is a chance that in this economy, that job is already shut down because A, it is either they don't have the budget for it or they already hired somebody. So do not depend on this one person for a job reference. And sometimes if you have known him well enough, but you haven't worked together with that person, he may or may not actually refer you to that job. So don't take that fatalistically. But don't go to people asking, please find me a job, these are my skill set. I really don't have the time, and neither will your contact have the time go looking for a job for you, right? Only you can do the job for you. Remember that. Same thing with Facebook too. Facebook has, I think, Glassdoor, which is a Facebook company. I haven't used it much, but Facebook definitely, if you know a few people on Facebook, just go ahead and ask one of your friends to say, one of my friends is looking for a job. Can somebody find him? These are his essential skill set. And I am so proud that with all the 4,000 contacts I have on Facebook and 4,000 on LinkedIn, a lot of these posts that I put for friends of mine, they do actually get a lot of traction. So even if you can get them 3 or 4 hits, that's good enough. These are 3 or 4 hits that he or she would never have gotten, right? So remember, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, awesome places to go, okay? But clean up your social profiles. This is not going to be your social media profile picture. Please don't do that. If you're going to be out there bashing a political party, make sure that you're doing it in a very dignified way. Do not use expletives. Behave like a professional. Behave like this is your corporate profile, and it will make a lot of difference. I don't use Pinterest at all, despite my children forcing me to do that. But I use Instagram a lot because a lot of children I work with, they are on Instagram but not on Facebook. So they feel like, okay, Uncle Paresh is very cool. He has Instagram. And, oh my God, he also has Twitter account. So have these media. Yes, you need to invest time. Please do not use the phrase it's a waste of time. you have to invest your time in social media to get benefits out of it, okay? So, these are some classic do's and do nots. So please put up with these. I normally don't put so much verbiage in a bullet, but here I have put them, right? So just bear with me on this, right? I have had, when I was working with HP and I was trying to recruit my replacement because they were going to lay me off, and I knew that. So when I was interviewing them, these guys were in the streets of some country in their car, honking away to glory, and they were doing their interviews while doing this. I was really put off, pissed off, whatever you want to call, but it was not a bright thing for them to do. So take it where it is really very quiet. For example, what I'm doing right now, it's a very quiet day for us here. My wife is there in the other room, and she has promised me she's not going to harass me today, but take it where it is quiet. Now there are two types of quiet, okay? One, cars going by your street or people shouting around your cubicles. More importantly, have your Facebook, LinkedIn, office email, WhatsApp, Instagram, everything shut off. When you're interviewing, refrain from the urge to do this one click to check out if somebody actually liked your post or not, right? So two types of quiets, remember? One is the actual din or noise that you have, and the second is the quiet in your mind. You really want to be relaxed. I would even go on to say, if you can have the luxury of doing it, go ahead and meditate for 10 or 15 minutes. If you look up YouTube, you'll find a lot of 15-minute meditation videos. It will really help you calm down. So please do that. Actually, in my previous job, I did 2 videos for my company to be sold as a benefit to other companies. That is my 1-hour meditation videos. So don't talk about your personal life. Seriously. Oh yeah, you know how my husband is or how my wife is. Oh my God, my son is such a pain in the you know what. So do not do that. That is a strict no-no. And I can tell you again. But there's something else that you should do about personal life, and we'll talk about it in a couple of slides down the line. Resist the urge to multitask, right? Okay, so while you're doing this in the interview, please don't pick up your phone and start responding to SMS or WhatsApp or Instagram or whatever it is that you are doing. Make sure that you are completely shut off from the outside world and you are only focusing on this, okay? Do not try to remember everything that the interviewer asked you or said to you. Please open up a notepad or OneNote and make notes of things that you believe will be relevant for you, okay, later on. That's the only time you really want to do it. Otherwise, take a paste. If you are in-person interview, take a piece of notepad with you and then just start scribbling and making notes. One of the things you want to do, and I'll talk about that a little later also, is if you are in the in-person interview and you know there are like 5 people in the interview surrounding here, on the letter you want to write down person 1, exact position that they are sitting so you don't mix up their names, neither you will forget their names. So please do that. Skip the money conversation in the first interview, possibly even the second interview, right? It will rule out a lot of your problems, because if the money is the only thing that you portray is important for your next job, chances are you are not as important to them. So just watch out for that. I will never tell you this enough number of times. Do not put your interviewer on hold. I've had this situation where I am on call that particular week, and when I went into the interview, I did tell them that I hope you do understand that I am still employed. So I am on call. If I get an office call, I will have to excuse myself. If it goes for more than 2 or 5 minutes, we might have to reschedule. Are you okay with it? And sometimes they say no. Well, then you leave the interview and go. And if they say yes, you're lucky. But most of the time, if you take them into confidence ahead of time, it will work for you. Same thing while you're on the interview online. If you get a phone call and you can just at least glance over it or even keep your phone away for all you know, right? That's fine. But if you are on call, you might want to let your interviewers know that. Right? Cool. Never skip the question and answer session. Almost always they will get to you and ask you, okay, what questions would you have for me, Paresh? And there's like some of those canned questions, some of them you can ask them based on the notes you took. For example, one of the interviews, this is about a little over a year back, when I was talking to this person and they said that they have a 5-year road plan or roadmap for their IT department. And I knew this is not my company because the technology changes every 6 months. How are you actually making a roadmap for 5 years, for example, right? And when I asked them pointed questions, I did not get suitable answers for that 5-year roadmap, so to speak, because the CIO gave me this information, but the people under him told me a different picture. Yeah, Paresh, we really don't have a technology roadmap. So when you get a chance, do not skip the Q&A. Don't be late. Again, repeat after me. I will not be late. I will not be late. I will not be late. So there are two things here, right? If it's an in-person interview, what you want to do is, and we'll talk about that also later in the slide during the interview or on the day of the interview. So let's remember to talk about it a little later. Don't assume that the reception of your phone is good in a particular area. So the first thing when you do attach with them or do connect with them on the phone or the video, definitely check with them. Can you see me properly? Can you hear me properly? Are you able to see my hand gestures, for example? Because I'm a very expressive kind of guy. So when I talk, my hands are talking along with my lips too. So make sure that you confirm that the reception quality is good. Otherwise, you might have to change your location where you're talking from. So if it's a virtual interview, for example, I just got these new headset. I think my children forced me to do that. They are the AirPods. I think that's what they're called. Yeah, AirPods. And they're okay so far. But they keep on popping off from my ears, which is kind of irritating. Do not talk over the interviewer. Please, guys, you may have the best possible answer. You think you understood his question, right? And you want to start the answer even before he finishes the question. Don't do that. I pray. Please, please, please don't talk over your interviewer. He has a frame of mind, right? He wants to make sure that he is able to get his point across, but you are stopping him from making his point right off the bat. You don't get that job. I can absolutely promise you that, because it conveys that you are not a good listener and you cannot afford to do that. Okay? Cool. Oh wait, we have one more. Skip the filler words. What are the filler words? I help you in your corporate goals. Come on, dude. Don't give me that crap. Seriously. I will make sure that I let you help you reach your budgetary. Seriously? If you can do that, but avoid that, it is not making any sense. I am highly motivated guy. Okay? These all really irritate the hell out of HR, hiring manager, CIO, because they have heard it, they have seen it all. Don't do that. Cool. Don't go in blind, which means basically, we'll talk about this in a significant detail a couple of slides down, but don't go in blind. Study the company, study the interviewer, study their industry. Prepare that all the way, right? Mix long-winded answers. For example, when somebody says, and I'll tell you, this is something that happened to me, I think just before I got this job, is there's a question this interviewer asked me, and I said, I just used the first word, and he said, okay, I know what you're going to say the next thing. So I'm like, okay, cool, right? So if possible, start with a concise answer first, and then if you see that blankness on the other person's face, then go ahead and explain one or two more sentences. If he doesn't understand that, you really need to go back and do your homework, how to answer these kind of questions, right? Which is something, again, we'll discuss a little later too. So Don't talk about politics. Okay, repeat after me. I will not talk politics. I hate Trump. I love Trump, right? There are only two types of people on this planet right now. So don't talk of any one of them at any given one point in time, right? This is a sure shot one interview ender. You will be immediately boxed into a stereotype. Three, you will start an animosity in the interview, which you totally don't want to do because you want to appear at your best. We had this situation where I used to ask when I had in my previous job, I had like 14 people working under me, and when I'm hiring, I would just sit back and ask, what do you think about all this Trump and Biden thing, right? Guess what? Some of them who are interns especially would just start railing off. You know how this guy is or that guy is, and it's pathetic. I'm so sorry for America. Okay, I know this guy is not fit for my team. And I can tell you this is exactly what your interview is also thinking. So watch out. Okay. This is something that I just added yesterday, especially for your virtual interview. Make sure that in the background you don't have your shirts hanging out and you don't have things that are irrelevant and really distractive to your interviewer and makes you appear like a non-professional person. What I have here in the background is a couple of my Caps and my Patriots, which is our New England area's football team, which is not doing so well. But remember what you're doing, and there is a guitar there, which is basically my son's room. There's a very temporary setting for me. But if you are doing this in an interview, make sure that you can actually blur out your background with whatever you want to, for example, right? Cool. Okay. The three gospels of the interview. I already told you some. As I said, I'll tell them to you about 2 slides down. Just now, the first one is prepare. Okay? Prepare the heck out of the interview. Second one, guess what? Prepare, right? Prepare. And KYFS, know your FN subject. Don't go into a job interview really not knowing your subject, right? So prepare for the interview very hard. First thing you also want to do is look at the job description, see how it matches with your resume. Remember your damn resume. I'm telling you, if your guy says, okay, hey Paresh, how do you handle backup situations? And I'm thinking in my mind, did you even freaking read my resume? It's in paragraph 2, line number 3. Okay, but you don't say that. I had actually given this. I knew I was anticipating this question, so I had actually, in an anticipatory move, I had already included that in my resume. But here it is for your ready reference. This is how I would do it. So know your subject. They will ask you technical questions. A lot of shift is now happening towards a hands-on manager. So don't think that because a manager is interviewing you, you can bullshit your way out of the interview. Seriously. He can catch you. Almost every one person that I know of now is a hands-on manager. So if you are going to talk about database, they will grill you left, right, and center. So know your FS. Now remember your resume. Make sure that you have matched it with the job requirements. I know that you are asking for this one. This is something that I did in this year. This is something that I'm just currently doing for you, and so on. So feel free to use your hand. Don't overuse it, okay? Otherwise that guy will feel giddy, or gal for that matter. So research the interviewers. I cannot tell you this enough number of times. Research the interviewers. Please remember, one of the things that I told you a little earlier was, how do you go about asking for help? And I told you, don't tell somebody to find a job for you, but you find a job and see who is there on your interview schedule, for example. If they have somebody in common, research them, ask that second person that you know, hey, what do you think about Mr. John, or what do you think about John Doe, or whatever it is? What is his style? Do you know a little bit more about him? And when the interview starts, hey, you know what, I was just speaking to one of our mutual friends, so and so, and he spoke so highly about you. Even if he said that he sucked, you want to say he spoke very highly about you. So research the interviewers. You will find, for example, this guy has been in the same company for 10 years, which means that either he really loves his job and the company really loves him, or he is so useless that he couldn't move. But you can find his career growth to find out that, oh yeah, he started as an intern, he went into development, now he became a lead, then he became a manager, now he's a director, and so on. So based on that, you will know that it's not that he couldn't find a job, he could find a job, he just did not go because he loves the company. And if you see that the average tenure of a company, of an employee or of one of your interviewers is more than 10 years, that's the company you really want to work for. Okay? So research the interviewers, and I'll tell you if it is in person what to do a little later too. Research the company, right? How is the company doing? Is it listed on your stock exchange? Find out what they're doing, how they are doing. If you look at the company's website, most of the time they are extremely verbose and totally useless. So don't try to make out a head or tail of what that damn company is doing by looking at their website. But there is a chance that they have a section which is meant for press releases. That's the section you want to look at. See what is something new they did, right? Why are they in the press? What is it that they are making waves with? So that is the thing you want to be prepared with when you're talking about the company. Right? Research the industry. Yeah, the interviewer is great. I know he loves this company, so the company is great. But if it is going to be entertainment industry, like right now, if somebody says, hey, I'm running a huge, for example, Norwegian cruise lines, right? Would you like to join them right now? No, because a lot of these cruises are getting cancelled, ships are getting literally broken down and left stranded wherever they are for obvious reasons. But so research the industry. For example, I would take a job any day in an industry that is like healthcare industry or education. There is always never recession in these industries. In companies, when you are actually talking to the interviewers, you will find out, are they moving towards the cloud? How are they progressive enough for you to stay around in that company for a long time to make a tremendous impact? Keep looking, keep your eyes and ears open. One of the reasons why you want to do that is not only just that you are in the same company for 10 or 15 years, you basically shield your brain from really what's going on in the marketplace, and you don't want to do that. Okay? So look at, say for example, I'm a DBA. I want to be either a DBA manager or a data platform manager, right? Or a director for that matter. So when I look for these kind of jobs on the internet, what I want to do is, what are the common things they ask for? Then I see, I think this is not in my resume. Then I post these kind of things on Twitter, asking for somebody if they know a quick fire way of learning these particular skills. And if you have a good enough network, remember networking, the first thing that we spoke about, they will come back to you and give you suitable guidance. Otherwise, you might have to end up taking some expensive courses. But remember, keep on looking, what's going on in the market. If you interview, the style of interviewing has changed. A lot of people now actually want you to sit down and they will give you a server and tell them, okay, Paresh, tell me what's wrong with this server, for example. So these are the types of interviews. The trends are changing very rapidly. In fact, trends are changing so bad. For example, when people are applying for the H-1 visas in USA, sometimes, yes, you get the job because you did well in the interview, but they have these tests for you in the American consulate in Bombay or Delhi, for example, and they will say, okay, you said you are a C++ programmer or you are a .NET or a Java developer. I have a simple test. Can you take this for me? If you fail that, guess what? You won't get the visa, and that means you will now pretty much be banned for 10 years for applying for something. So make sure that not only do you know your subject, but you know how the interviews are being carried out. That is what you should be ready for, right? So as I said, prepare for the technology and prepare for the interviews too. Food habits, right? Because most of these days you don't have personal interviews, but what you eat before, what you eat on the day of, right? Let me go back to this one here. I will tell you why. The day before, or even 2 days before, try to avoid eating any strong smelling food. Could be full of garlic or fish or something like that. Our body has an inherent way of discharging those odors through our sweat, and we have that unique body odor which can be very offensive. So be very careful of what you eat. On the day off, exactly the same thing. For example, don't go with a fish sandwich in the morning, right? Or a fish sticks and whatever you eat. I'm a vegetarian, I don't know. But for example, I will not eat a vegetable samosa and with a strong garlic chutney, for example, on the day of interview. Before, when you go there, right? This is something, okay? Personal looks matter, okay? So what you want to do is make sure that you, yes, I love your traditional dresses, but don't go to an interview in the traditional dress. Don't be drunk, or at least have no smell of alcohol coming. So it doesn't mean that you drink vodka, but generally don't drink. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, I know freedom of expression, but these kind of clothes no good for your interview, right? These are the formal clothes. You really want to go for these. One of the things that I found in at least 2 or 3 instances is where people came with that proverbial piece of parsley stuck in the front tooth. Okay, so make sure that you don't make these stupid mistakes. If you are going there, make sure that you are flossed and have a mint rolling before you actually go into the office there. Office interviews tend to be in a closed confined space, so whatever you had in the morning, that will eventually filter on to other people there. Yes, I know we are all Einsteins, but in the interview, the hairstyle doesn't really help. You can still take a chance if you think you are extremely liberal. Well, good luck with that. Don't blow bubbles. I have seen, especially when I'm interviewing interns, they are chewing gum and blowing bubbles between questions. I'm like, what are you thinking? Don't chew tobacco too. I know some of these are very obvious, but yes, these are the stupid things we do. Trust me. And I've seen this. I've interviewed about 300 people already by now, and I can tell you this with a lot of confidence. That happens. If you are sporting a beard, like, make sure it is well trimmed. Not that I like or dislike this guy, but see, he's got a very well trimmed beard. You want it to be like that. If you are using a deodorant, make sure that the deodorant is mild. It shouldn't be very strong. A lot of people are allergic to it. So make sure that you do use deodorants if they are good, and I will give you how to go about doing that too in a minute, okay? So arrival, if it's an in-person interview, for example, right, arrive 10 to 15 minutes early, about 5 minutes early if it's a virtual interview, okay? If by stroke of luck you're going to be late, please keep the number of the HR person or your interviewer handy. I have had this misfortune of being late for an interview because my train just wouldn't move, for example. And at that time, I couldn't find the name or the email of that HR person because it came through a third-party software, like ADP or something like that. And I was not even able to communicate with them in time. So what I did was, now going for an interview, the first thing I do is, who is the HR person who wrote to me? I will go ahead and write down their number. And also, if there is any other numbers there I can talk to. If you went there through a personal contact, let them also know that you are running late. So if by stroke of luck, right? Don't try to make this as a habit. Give them plenty of heads up if you are going to be late, for example. Don't just say, hey, you guys, guess what? I'm stuck in a movie. I can't come now. No, don't do that. If it is hot outside, I suggest instead of 15 minutes or 10 minutes, come 20 minutes early. Sit in the office building. Let your sweat dry off, right? And when your sweat dries off, the odor doesn't dry off. Go into the bathroom, clean yourself, right? Dry your face, right? And if there's any combing of your hair to do, go ahead and do that. This is a good time for you to apply that mild deodorant that I just showed you in the previous slide. Pleasantly greet the receptionist, okay? They can actually give a feedback about you too. And they actually do a lot of times. And also by just observing when you are in the lobby sitting there trying to cool off, you will observe that how the receptionist is treating the employees, how the receptionist is treating the people who are coming into the office, how the people are interacting with the receptionist, tells you a lot about the work culture in that organization. So this is a perfect time for you to go ahead and do this, okay? If you are capable and able, then definitely go there one day early just to kind of map out the area and see what is around and so on. So cool. So during the interview, right? Please put off your phone. I cannot tell you this enough number of times. Put off your phone, no matter how busy you are, unless you are on call and you have the permission to keep it on. Just tell them I'm going to keep it here. If it is an office-related call, I'm on a vibration mode, but I will have to pick up the phone if it is from my office. Warm handshake. Don't give a limp handshake like this. You really want to shake the hands, right? I mean it. If they offer coffee or water, please accept it. Do not say no. Why? Because the chances are if they are offering you coffee, they are actually going to walk with you to the coffee machine, which means you have time to break the ice with that person, talk about general niceties, families, your sport team, your no politics, remember? And so on. So small niceties can be exchanged definitely. If there are family photos in a particular office, make sure that you appreciate the photos, right? But don't assume the relationship. Okay? Don't say these are your children. They could be their godchildren. He could be that guy's husband. You don't know if he's gay or not gay. So don't assume any relationship. That can be very offensive. But just appreciate the photo. Wow, some nice photos. Who are these people? Like that. So avoid political discussion. Remember, this is the 20th time I'm telling you. Prepare for the exit line. What's an exit line? The exit line means why do you want to leave your previous job? Why do you want to exit that job, right? Give a very perfectly tuned answers. Practice that exit line 20,000 times if you have to. Talk about mutual connections if you have any. Say, hey, you know what? I spoke to John Doe and he speaks very highly of you. That made me so confident to come here for the interview, for example. Do not ask, can I work from home? Of course, this is different when this is a virtual job. Like currently I'm in a remote DBA job, so I'm always at home, but don't start off with that kind of question. A lot of organizations find it extremely difficult. Avoid the funny stuff. Your sense of humor, that person's sense of humor can be totally different. Don't bitch about the previous job, okay? It'll only be worse for you. Talk about books, blogs, forums, professional groups that impress you, that have changed your life and that has made your work easier, right? So sitting, don't slouch, okay? Sit upright basically, correct? Sit away from the computer, especially if this is a virtual interview. Do not sit close to it, otherwise you're always yes, and you're clicking on your Facebook and seeing, oh my God, my friend got 1,000 likes on his picture and I got only 200. So avoid multitasking. Don't stretch or spread your legs as if you are very casual, right? Sit very professionally. I tell you, it makes a lot of difference. Sit directly opposite to the interviewer if it is an in-person interview. The reason being, yes, there is a political side to it. Yes, you can gauge the reaction significantly clearly. But on the philosophical side, if you look at it, you can catch that person's vibrations very easily if you're sitting bang across them, right? So, and if you are doing a virtual interview, get a proper headset like what I have done here, and you will live happily ever after. So, interview the interviewer, right? Don't let them just grill you for their questions, right? Go ahead and what's your team doing? What's your management style? How do you handle employee failure? For example, I tell my interviewees that, you know what, I encourage them if they fail to come out and admit it in the open, we will handle the failure, but I want you to try new things which will help you do your job better and which will help your company. If that manager doesn't say that, it's not the right manager for you, I promise you. What's your technology roadmap? I know this is a canned question, but definitely feel free to ask them. Why do we have this opening, right? Is it a net new or is it something that you fired? Okay, then you can go back and research, okay, why did this guy get fired or he left on his own, okay? What do you expect from me, for example, on day 1, day 30, day 90, and so on? Make sure that they give you some level of, if they say, yeah, it all depends, which means you're already not done well in the interview, I promise you that. What do you think about the training? And this is a very tricky question. Almost 90% of the managers will give you a very political answer. It all depends on what is the need of the day, which basically means that please don't talk about training with me, right? Because most of the training these days are available free. Only thing, you have to have the initiative of taking that training after office hours. So closing, right? Ask pointed questions, right? Is there anything in my resume or our interview that you did not like or would you like me to work upon? I would love to help you with that. When do I expect to hear back from you? Okay. What are the next steps and when? So these two kind of go together. So make sure that you are actually getting some level of commitment from them. So what happens is that if they say, oh yeah, we are still interviewing a lot of people, that means don't get your hopes high anyways. But bottom line is that yes, you are not the only one. So yes, keep on looking. Warm handshakes again. Check with them if you can connect with them on LinkedIn, not Facebook, remember, or Instagram. Just say, can you connect with them on LinkedIn? Follow up with them, right? Write a thank you note, for example. Don't still bring up the salary unless this is the final interview. Usually the HR will call back and give you the salary figures. So logging, okay? I'm just go through this. This is typically what you would log into your interview things, especially in America. It really helps you fill in your unemployment records so that you can get your unemployment insurance from the Department of Labor, right? So once the chapter is closed, strike it off. This is a sample of that spreadsheet that I had, for example. And yes, follow up. Write a thank you note, right? It really helps. If you don't get a regret message, how do you handle that? If you get a regret message, what do? Just make a gentle follow-up with them and say, you know what, as I told you earlier also, ask them, I would really like to have one shot with the manager, not to ask for the job, but I just want to know what can I work on. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Cool. So, what did we learn about today, right? Network all the time, look all the time, prepare, arrive early, interview the interviewer, and have a very powerful closing statement. And do not forget to follow up with your interviewers or the company. Again, guys, thank you for listening. Paresh Motiwala at gmail.com or Paresh Motiwala, it's my Twitter handle. My LinkedIn is also Paresh Motiwala, and I work at Naresite as a DBA. And if you are going to reach out to me on LinkedIn, please make sure that you tell me that you heard me speaking at this conference and would like to connect. So thank yous once again. If you tweet with the hashtag of DPS 2020, you'll get some sort of, and give a session or conference feedback, you get some sort of prize all the time. That's exactly what we do in our SQL Saturdays. So please follow Data Geeks or Data AI Summit on Twitter, and you'll get much more of this information all the time. So thank you very much for your time, folks, and I hope you learned something, and I look forward to being able to come with more of similar presentations as and when time permits. Adios.